Alright, first off, I want to take a look at using V-Skill 1 or V-Skill 2 in neutral a bit more against like anti-fireball characters. I've already talked about how you can really easily react to fireballs with a crouch jab if you have the low mine out, but if you have the low mine, you can't do the low gunshot without triggering the mine, unfortunately. So the best button to use if you're using the high mine would probably be crouching heavy punch, as it has a really good hurt box. So unlike most of our other normals, they don't, they get counter hit if you see the fireball coming. So yeah, crouching heavy punch will get through that, and if you're closer than that, you can react to fireballs with EX Schneide if you're pretty close to them, but it'll only hit once, and if they quick rise, you're not even plus afterwards. But if you have the V skill going, you can get, at this range, you're too close to be able to react with crouching heavy punch, at least in the high mine. Yeah, but you can react with the EX Schneide, and you can get 2 hits, which will allow you to get Oki off of it. And then from further away, you can contend with fireballs by just using the low gunshot, ignoring them, build up meter, build up chip damage, just be annoying. You can wait until the mine gets closer to them. If it gets closer to them or closer to detonating, they'll probably back off. But yeah, you can contend like this. If they jump forwards at any point, if they jump over your fireball, you can just detonate the mine where they're landing, probably, or anti-air them with the mine. And then even if they block it, you're plus enough to get a dash in. So yeah, you can kind of, try that in neutral. Alrighty, next let's talk about if you get the stun in mid-screen. A good mid-screen combo would probably be something like that, maybe with the mine, or you can even after popping the mine, you are able to, you can't set up another one, see, immediately when the previous mine is detonating. See, it's only giving me medium kick instead of another V skill, but there is a window after they get hit by the mine. See, I was +2 there, even on quick rise. So you can structure combos in such a way that you will generate a new mine. And then you can set up another mine, yeah. Still be plus. You can do this sort of thing in the corner too. So yeah, you've got to remine combos. I think I've mentioned it a bit before, but I haven't developed any combos for it, so. Beyond that, I have an updated version of this mix-up, or at least the post-stun variant of it. Where previously I had said that if you wanted to set that up, there's a few ways of doing it. You could do the overhead in V-Trigger 2. Or you can, whiff a jab when you're close by and then do it. But you can actually just do the low mine and then do jumping heavy punch in such a way that the hit stop only occurs in your opponent's upper chest, but then the active frames continue after time speeds up again. and then you can get the dive kick like that. So that's the Sonic Fox version. He came up with that. I'm just repeating what he did. If you hit the opponent with the orb fairly close, you can immediately go into a EX dive kick, or sorry, EX catapult, and then if you do a regular catapult afterwards, you'll be able to side switch. You know, if you're close enough. So like that. Beyond that, there's a more optimal way of converting off of a combo where with V-Trigger 1 activation, where previously I would usually probably do something like the low gunshot into activation because you're plus enough to get another forward dash, and then still go for the same combo. However, you can actually activate like that, get a micro walk, and then into crouch heavy punch into the low gunshot, and still be at the spacing for the +8 into the standing medium kick, and whatever option you want to do after that. So that is more optimal with damage and stun. Beyond that, I've also been neglecting to use the regular just gunshot that you get in V-Trigger 1. It has basically the same hurt box as the regular gunshot, which is to say not very good. You know, it extends the feet, it extends the upper body. But it does basically hit the same range with its knockdown. And, you know, if you want to contest with the opponent's normals in a way that will get a knockdown as such, you know, and it's very plus on block, so it's not a terrible thing to try if the opponent's being pretty buttonsy. Beyond that, the further away you are in a juggle, the later the standing gunshot of V-Trigger 1 will hit them, which usually just makes you more and more plus. So there you can easily be plus if you set up a mine like that. I think the most plus you can be would be probably that into activation, and then you can do a really delayed. Yeah, it takes forever to the gunshot to travel there, so it's unnecessary to be that plus when you're setting up the mine from so far away. You're gonna be safe no matter what, but in principle, say if you get like a crush counter, forward heavy punch into the gunshot, easy place to set up a mine. Beyond that, lots of characters, if you do like a max range V-Trigger gunshot on block, it's very plus, and it also pushes them back a little bit further. It locks them down for long enough. You can get out of V-Skill 2 against a lot of the characters, especially if they're not immediately prepared to punish you. Just normally hitting the V-Trigger 1 at the end of combos is pretty handy for getting into the mine. You're going to be very safe when you do that. But most of what I have today is more corner setups with the V-Skill 2. You have lots of just plain meaty setups that you can do. And beyond that, if you have the mine in place, even if you don't do an immediate block string, as long as the mine is around them, you can, it'll usually be a bit behind them if you do a setup like this. But Standing medium kick into Kugel will almost always trigger it, even if you're pretty far back. So you can usually harass the opponent with pressure, and then when you want to detonate it, you can do that. You can also use the air gunshot to trigger it. If the opponent blocks that, you'll be generally +8 or +9 when you come down, usually around at this distance from the opponent. Depending on where the mine is, how far behind the opponent's head is, it'll be difficult for the air gunshot to get past the head of a taller character, so it doesn't work as well against tall characters. And if you do the high mine like this, you can abuse it in the same way you can just abuse the high mine in neutral if the opponent isn't, you know, backing away from it. Where if it's nearby enough for you to get a jump in, you can pretty safely just force a jump in, because even if the opponent anti-airs, even with an uppercut, it'll detonate and blow up their anti-air, or most anti-airs. There's a few that it doesn't beat. And it doesn't beat all air-to-airs either. But yeah, you can abuse that pretty well, because even if they anti-air, they're getting hit by the mine. In a similar sense, you can abuse that like this. You can go for a throw bait by neutral jumping, but beyond just being a throw bait, even if they don't take the bait and are prepared to anti-air you, they'll probably get punished if they try to anti-air you, just because the mine will detonate. So you can abuse that in setups. And then you can do other stuff with jumping over the opponent. So you can forward jump and hit. You can go empty low by detonating the mine with jumping heavy punch and then going for crouching light kick. Which allows you to get more damage than you would normally be able to get just by doing that. Unfortunately, you just barely don't have quite the frame advantage that you would need in order to get the catapult, the high EX catapult into another catapult for the side switch that you can normally get. Like that. You can't get it off of this setup, unfortunately, and put them back in the corner. But it is damage, and it's more damage than you normally get from an empty low. And it's safer to do as an empty low, because they'll get punished if they try to anti-air you in most circumstances. The only way they can consistently, or they could beat this if they're ready, is they can do a jump back air-to-air, which means that they can hit you before you detonate the mine. Same if you do just like a neutral jump, they can air-to-air you. However, you can just do the jumping gunshot, and it will detonate the mine. That will beat any attempt to air-to-air you, jumping forwards. If you're fighting a tall character or something, and you want to, you're reading that they're going to try to air-to-air you or anti-air you or do something of the sort, you, instead of putting a stationary mine like that, you can put a moving mine like that, and then do a jump forward into the gunshot. If they try to anti-air you, they'll get shot immediately. It'll probably not detonate the mine. But yeah, in any of these cases, if they block it, you fall down. You're +8 on block generally. All of the jumping forward options they can avoid by like forward dashing on wake up, but there's other ways you can beat, like forward walking on wake up. You can set up a mine, and then do an early dive kick, and then you have basically the exact same options off of that. So you can do the dive kick. So you can go like this, you can go for a cross up, or you can go for a dive kick to stay on the same side. And then you get basically the same options. If you do the gunshot, they cannot anti-air you, they cannot air-to-air you, they can't do anything except forward dash. So yeah, and then you'll fall down B +8 if they block it. You can combo, even without on counter hit, if you have the mine there. You can combo just a regular dive kick straight into the gunshot and thus into the mine afterwards. Like so. And so yeah, if you decide to do the non-cross up and stay on the same side and do the dive kick, you can combo off that easily on counter hit. Then you would just come, if you get a counter hit, you just come down and do the heavy punch. You can do it without getting counter hit, but it's much more difficult. The timing is pretty hard. But in any case, yeah, you have basically the same options. If you jump forward at this and then do the dive kick, you can shoot, and that blows up any attempt to anti-air. You can fall forwards after the dive kick and get a cross up. You can fall like that without detonating the mine if you don't want to. You can go for your empty low by detonating the mine with jumping heavy punch. One downside of this is that if you just go for the jumping medium kick, if you're standing here, there's no move that will detonate the mine. There's no move that hits in Falke's position or behind her enough to detonate the mine at that point. None of her jumping normals if she's already facing the wrong direction. So if you're going to commit to jumping over the opponent, I would probably just go for the jumping heavy punch to detonate the mine at least. If they block it or block whatever you're doing with it, you can detonate it. You're super plus. You can jump over them again, go for another dive kick, get yourself out of the corner, and still do a sort of mix up. So yeah, I mean, just abuse the mine. Abuse the fact that it will detonate so long as you strike it. So, you can abuse, especially your jumping attacks. You can abuse the fact that even if you give the opponent space to move or attack, you still have the advantage. So yeah, I mean, a few more, ways of trying to force mix-ups in situations where you don't necessarily get guaranteed mix.